I want to turn to the question of blood products now. Families claiming that contaminated blood victims were unknowingly used for research. They've uncovered historic notes in some medical records that patients being treated for haemophilia in the 1970s and 80s were given plasma which doctors knew might be infected, but relatives say those studies were done without their loved one's knowledge or consent. Jason Evans lost his dad to hepatitis and HIV because of infected blood products. And Jason is on the line to us right now. Just tell us about this detective work that you and your colleagues have been doing then, Jason. How was it revealed that this research was being, that your father's body products were being used for research?
Yeah, good morning. So there's really two elements to this. The first one was by taking documents which had been both disclosed by the Infected Blood Inquiry, which has been going on since 2017 and is due to report next month, by taking those documents and also documents we've obtained through Freedom of Information requests, we were able to create a timeline of these trials, which took place over about a decade and were ran by a state body called the Public Health Laboratory Service, which no longer exists under that name. But these trials were being ran by a senior medic called Dr. John Krask, and we were able to look firstly at all those trials which were taking place and then contrast that to the medical records of many of our members, which includes victims who were infected with hepatitis or HIV themselves or their family members. And what we were able to see is not only were these infectivity trials taking place, so these were trials designed specifically to see how many patients would be infected by these products and the severity of the hepatitis infections. And then, of course, in the medical records of the victims and families, we see, it says, Dr. Krask's research work next to these treatments that people were given, and victims and bereaved families, including myself, my own father, saying, we had no idea we were part of it. I mean,
it's a convention. I know it shouldn't need saying, but let me say it. Conventionally, if you're going to take part in some kind of medical trial, you seek the patient's permission, right? That's basic stuff.
Well, of course. I mean, this has been well established. I know the inquiry has been looking carefully, actually, at the Nuremberg Code, which arose out of the horrors of World War II, that it's potentially that serious what we're talking about. It's people being knowingly subject to harm without their knowledge or consent that these trials are going on. So it is shocking. It is unbelievable. And I think because of just how bad this really is, it's part of the reason why we're now seeing the government finally starting to kick into action in regards to compensation and redress, which of course has been long denied for many, many years.
Well, let me ask you about that. I mean, it's starting a process, it's talking the talk. Is it actually writing any checks just yet?
No, it's probably the short answer. So just recently, last month, the government announced that it would make interim payments to the estates of those who have died, and it said it will be setting up within 3 months the compensation scheme to get full compensation to people. But as it stands, it's quite right to point out that there's nowhere, whether that's the estates of people who have died or those who are still living, there is nowhere for people to go and register to make their claim. We have a lot of promises at the minute and nothing tangible. Now, with all that being said, I did meet myself with John Glenn, the Paymaster General, last Thursday for 45 minutes in Birmingham, and we talked through some of these issues. I did get the impression that he wants to move this forward, but he was also quite frank that he needs collective agreement. He needs the sign-off from the Chancellor and the Prime Minister, who both of those people as individuals as well have made promises. But it's about getting this over the line and making it forward. I think we are due to expect a fairly significant announcement probably the day after the final report on the 20th of May.
OK, so you just have another few weeks, another few days, essentially, another couple of weeks to wait, Jason, and then we will, maybe everybody in government will join up and actually deliver on what they're promising.
We certainly hope so.
Let's talk again then. Jason, thank you very much indeed for explaining the situation. Jason Evans, who lost his father to hepatitis and HIV, 18 minutes after 10.